Hello everyone, this is the Average Pharmacist here with another video. And as I said previously, the reason I made this YouTube channel was to let you guys know about the different interesting things that have happened throughout medical history, both past and present. Another reason I made this YouTube channel was to let you guys know about different medications you take, so how they work, whether there are side effects. So if you guys have any questions on anything, if you leave me a comment, I will make that my next video. Also, if you guys would subscribe, that'd be even better. And if you hit that bell notification, you will get a notification whenever I have a new video. So, as promised, this is going to be my Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine video. So, before I do get started, I do want to give a shout out to my cousin, a pharmaceutical marketing expert. His name is Ahmed Taray. He did help me compile some information for this video, so I definitely wanted to say thanks. So, as mentioned before, the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine is unapproved, but the FDA did grant emergency use authorization, just like the other COVID vaccines. So what an emergency use authorization is, again, it's basically when the FDA will allow an unapproved drug to be used if there is a public health emergency. So as mentioned before, it takes a long time for a drug to get approved. It takes about 10 years. However, if the FDA will see a public health crisis and it's an emergency, they will gather as much data as they can on a specific drug, and they will allow that drug to be used even though it won't be approved. And when that emergency ends, or that public health emergency ends, then the emergency use authorization will end. So all three of these vaccines are under this umbrella of emergency use authorization. The Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, and the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. So one big difference between all the vaccines is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is only given as a single dose. And the reason it's only given as a single dose was because in the clinical trials, one dose showed a strong immune response. So patients got one dose. After this one dose, they had a strong immune response. So from that, they kind of said, we're only going to give this vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, as one dose. Also, there is no data available on the use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine to complete a vaccination series initiated with another vaccine. So meaning, if you get Moderna first, and Moderna is a COVID-19 vaccine that is 2 doses. So you get one Moderna shot, then a month later, you get your second Moderna shot. But you're not going to get Moderna first, and then a month later, you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And also with the Pfizer vaccine, this is 2 doses also. You get one Pfizer vaccine dose, and then 3 weeks later, you get your second Pfizer vaccine dose. But what won't happen is you won't get Pfizer first, and then you get Johnson & Johnson second. There's just no data showing the interchangeability of these COVID vaccines with each other. So if you get Moderna first, you get Moderna second. If you get Pfizer first, you get Pfizer second. And Johnson & Johnson is only 1 dose, so you'll just have 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, and then you will be done with your vaccines for Johnson & Johnson. So in the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 clinical trials, we had the same adverse reactions as the Pfizer and the Moderna COVID-19 vaccines. So you had injection site pain, you had headache, you had fatigue, you had muscle pain, you had nausea, fever, and injection site redness, and injection site swelling. You also saw severe allergic reactions, including anaphylaxis. And as I mentioned before, if you have any allergic reaction to any vaccine, whoever's giving you the vaccine, so whether it's your doctor, your nurse, or pharmacist, they will treat you immediately. And as I said before, clinical trials, they are conducted in specific conditions, and sometimes these adverse events can't be directly compared with rates in real life. And just like the other 2 COVID vaccines, with the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, additional adverse reactions, some which may be serious, they may manifest themselves with more widespread use of the vaccine. So if we have more patients using it, we'll kind of have a better idea what exactly adverse events truly happen with the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. So the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, just like the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine, is given in patients 18 years and older. And a big difference is that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is not an mRNA vaccine, and it does work different than the Moderna and the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines. So in my previous videos on the Pfizer and the Moderna COVID-19 vaccines, I covered what an mRNA vaccine is. And the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccine, those both are mRNA vaccines. And if you're not sure what that is and you want a more detailed description, then I recommend you go watch those videos. However, Johnson & Johnson does work differently. So the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine is a viral vector vaccine. So coronaviruses like COVID-19, the reason they're named coronavirus is because of the crown-like spikes on their surface, and these are called spike proteins. So these spike proteins, they're ideal targets for vaccines. So what a viral vector vaccine will do is it will use a harmless version of a different virus, which is called a vector. And what will happen is this vector will deliver information to your body, and it will teach your body how to make copies of these spike proteins. So if you're exposed to COVID later, your body will recognize it, and it will know how to fight it off. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it does not contain the virus that gives you COVID-19, and it can't give you COVID-19. Also, the vector, which is a virus, it can't make you sick, and it can't change your DNA. And I know that is a big misconception out there, that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine can change your DNA, but it actually can't. So when your body responds to the vaccine, you get those symptoms, like you get your headaches, you get tiredness, muscle pain. This is normal, and it's showing the vaccine is working. So even though there's limited scientific information available, based on all the scientific data to date, it is reasonable to believe that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine may be effective in preventing COVID-19. So as you can see here, in comparing the efficacy between all three vaccines, you can see here that Johnson & Johnson has the lowest efficacy rate. However, this doesn't mean that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is not as good as the others. According to experts, the only way you can fairly compare efficacy between these vaccines is to do a head-to-head trial comparing efficacy between the vaccines. So for instance, if you wanted to compare efficacy between the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine and the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, what you would have to do is you would have to get a group of patients, you give them the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, and then you'll have another group of patients, you give them the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine, and then you can kind of see the efficacy compared with one another. So it will have to be a head-to-head trial compared with one another. Because a lot of these clinical trials previously, so Pfizer's clinical trial, Moderna's clinical trial, and Johnson & Johnson's clinical trial, all those trials were different. They had different subsets of patients. Some patients may have been sicker than others. So we can't look at these charts that we see on the news and say, oh, Johnson & Johnson has the lowest efficacy rate. That means the vaccine doesn't work. It really doesn't work that way. In order to compare efficacy between all of these vaccines, there needs to be a head-to-head trial, and that's when we can kind of see which vaccine is more efficacious than the other. So as I mentioned in my Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine video, they did have clinical trials in patients that were 12 to 15. So they were started to test patients in a younger patient population. And recently, as soon as last week, they had some positive results in their clinical trial. So Pfizer had a clinical trial where patients 12 to 15 were getting the vaccine, and that clinical trial does have positive results, and that is going to go to the FDA. So basically what's going to happen is the FDA is going to look at it, and they'll decide if children will be vaccinated between the ages of 12 and 15, and this is with the Pfizer vaccine. The Moderna vaccine does have clinical trials in a younger patient population. We're just waiting to see what those results are. And also Johnson & Johnson, that vaccine does have clinical trials in a younger patient population. I believe the patient age range is 12 to 17. So it's just going to take some time. And sooner than later, more than likely, children will be able to be vaccinated also. But it looks like kind of Pfizer is ahead of the pack because they have the clinical data, and it is good data. So, like I said, I always like to keep my videos short. I like to have a lot of information, but I like to make it easy for you guys to understand. So if you guys did hit that like button, that'd be great. And if you subscribe, that'd be great. And if you leave me a comment below, I will make that my next video. If you have a question on a specific drug and you leave me a comment, that will definitely be my next video. So I definitely appreciate you guys taking your time out today and watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.